my friends, close your eyes and lie down comfortably. Listen to this story for 4 or 5 minutes, and you'll feel your eyelids growing heavier as sleep begins to come. If you enjoy it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. That way, you'll discover many more calm, long history stories to ease your mind and help you drift into sleep. Now, let me take you back in time. You breathe slowly, as if sinking into the quiet of the night. In your imagination, the sound of modern life fades, and another world begins to rise around you. It is the United States in 1929. The streets are alive, with energy, the click of heels on pavement, the hum of car engines, the voices of men and women rushing through crowded sidewalks. People carry themselves with confidence, almost as if the future can only bring more wealth, more laughter, more joy. You find yourself walking among them, blending into the rhythm of this bustling time. Skyscrapers shine under the sun, their glass windows reflecting the golden promise of the decade. Inside those towers, numbers pour from stock tickers like a steady heartbeat. Every rise in the market makes people smile, dream bigger, and believe they are climbing toward security. Ordinary shopkeepers, farmers, and school teachers begin buying shares, convinced that prosperity is theirs to hold. But as you drift deeper into the story, you sense an uneasiness, a whisper at the edge of the dream. For years, prices have been climbing too fast. Like a balloon filled with too much air, you can almost hear the faint tension, like a string stretched too tightly, waiting for the moment it will snap. And then it does. It is October 29th, 1929. The day that will be called Black Tuesday. You are there on Wall Street, standing in the middle of a restless crowd. The usual chatter has turned into shouting, the easy laughter into panic. Brokers clutch papers, their faces pale, their eyes wild with disbelief. The ticker machines rattle as numbers plunge lower and lower. The sound is relentless, like a drumbeat of collapse. You see men rushing down staircases, others slamming telephones against their desks. Some shout for help, others curse the air. But many simply fall silent, unable to comprehend how fortunes could vanish in a single morning. The atmosphere is thick with fear, almost as if the air itself has grown heavy and hard to breathe. Out on the streets, news spreads like fire. You hear whispers turn into gasps. The market has crashed. Banks are failing. Fortunes are gone. Strangers stop one another on the sidewalks, repeating the rumors, each word making the reality sharper and more frightening. Days pass, and the ripples widen. You walk into a small-town bank where people line up outside the door. They clutch withdrawal slips with trembling hands, desperate to pull their money before it disappears. Some manage to leave with coins jingling in their pockets, while others find the doors barred, the windows dark, the bank shut forever. Families lose savings they had guarded for years. You notice the sorrow in their eyes. A farmer staring at the earth he thought would feed him. A shopkeeper sweeping dust from an empty store. A child overhearing parents whispering about rent they cannot pay. The crash has started as a storm in the stock market, but now its thunder echoes through every street and every home. Yet, strangely, hope still lingers. You hear people reassure themselves, it will bounce back. This is only temporary. They cling to the belief that tomorrow will bring recovery, even as the shadows stretch longer each day. But deep inside, you sense the truth. This is the beginning of something larger, something heavier than anyone can yet imagine. At night, the city grows quiet. The glow of jazz clubs and dance halls fades, replaced by silence heavy as a blanket. The roaring 20s, with its music and laughter, begins to slip away like a fading dream. You walk down an empty street, the echoes of your footsteps the only sound. Around you, tall buildings stand like cold monuments, not of triumph, but of fragility. And as you let this vision settle around you, you feel your own breathing slow, your body sinking deeper into calm. The crash of 1929 is not just a moment in numbers, it is the beginning of years of struggle, years that will test the endurance of millions. But for now, in this gentle retelling, it becomes a soft current carrying you further into rest, a story that flows quietly into sleep. You let the first part of the story fade, like the last echoes of footsteps down a quiet alley. The crash of the stock market has passed before your eyes, but now you drift deeper into what comes after. The numbers on Wall Street were only the beginning. The true weight of the Great Depression is carried in the lives of ordinary people. You find yourself standing at the door of a small factory, the kind that once hummed with the steady rhythm of machines. For years, men and women walked here each morning, carrying their lunches in brown paper bags, ready for another day's labor. But now, as you look inside, the machines stand still. The lights are dim. A notice is nailed to the door. Closed until further notice. The words are simple, yet to the workers who depend on them, they may as well say, "Your future is gone." A man lingers outside. He wears the same work boots he has worn for years, scuffed and tired, but sturdy. He holds his cap in his hands, turning it slowly, as though trying to twist a solution out of it. His children wait at home, expecting him to return with his pay envelope. But this week, there will be no envelope. He stares at the empty doorway, unable to step away, as if standing there might somehow bring the work back. You follow him in your mind as he finally turns, shoulders heavy, and walks down a street lined with others just like him. Men drifting home in silence, their footsteps dragging. They pass the local grocery store, where a sign in the window reads, "Credit no longer extended." The grocer, once friendly, avoids their eyes. He, too, is afraid. He cannot give food without payment, for his suppliers demand their own money. And so the chain of hardship spreads from one hand to the next. In the cities, the same story repeats itself in offices and shops. A clerk arrives one morning to find her desk empty, her papers stacked neatly as if waiting for her. But her manager tells her she is no longer needed. She nods politely, forcing a smile, though her stomach tightens with dread. The walk home feels longer than ever, every step filled with questions she cannot answer. How will she pay the rent? How will she explain this to her family? Factories close, mines shut down, shipping slows. Everywhere you look, jobs vanish, not one by one, but in great waves as if a tide has pulled back, leaving people stranded. By the year's end, millions are out of work. You picture the numbers rising. 2 million unemployed, then 4, then 6, until it seems as though every street holds someone searching desperately for labor. You drift now into a long line outside an employment office. The men here wear their best clothes, ties knotted carefully, shoes polished as well as they can manage. They want to look ready, respectable, employable, but their faces betray them. Behind the neat collars and pressed jackets, their eyes carry exhaustion and worry. Hours pass as they stand, waiting for their names to be called. But often no names are called at all. The office runs out of positions before the line even shortens, and the men shuffle away quietly, the hope drained from their shoulders. In homes across the nation, conversations take place late at night when children are asleep. Parents whisper about bills stacking on the table, about the landlord's visit, about the pile of letters demanding payment. A mother folds her hands tightly and says, "We will manage somehow." though she does not yet know how. A father stares at the ceiling in the dark, calculating and recalculating numbers that never quite add up. The loss of work is not only about money, it is about identity, pride, and purpose. Men who once woke each day with a task now find themselves adrift, their days empty. They sit on porch steps or in parks, staring into the distance, feeling invisible. For many, it is harder to lose the rhythm of labor than the wages themselves. Yet, in this silence, you also notice small sparks of resilience. Families stretch meals with creativity. Soup watered down to last an extra day. Bread baked with cheaper ingredients. Leftovers transformed into something new. Neighbors share what little they can spare. A sack of potatoes passed across a fence becomes a gift greater than gold. People discover ways to survive, to hold one another up, even as the ground beneath them feels unsteady. You wander further, into the countryside, where farmers struggle with the same weight. Crops that once promised income now rot in the fields because no one can afford to buy them. A farmer looks at his barn filled with unsold grain, while in the city, children go hungry. The cruelty of the moment is not in scarcity, but in the cruel mismatch between abundance and need. And so the pattern of the depression deepens. Jobs vanish. Savings evaporate. Hope falters. Each day seems to carry the same heavy question. How long can this last? Yet the days keep coming, one after another, and people must find ways to endure them. You feel yourself drifting with these lives, your breath slowing, as though you are sharing in their weary sighs. The quiet desperation of unemployment surrounds you, but it is told here like a gentle lullaby, soft and steady, carrying you deeper into stillness. For now, the story rests on this moment. Jobs disappearing overnight, lives turned upside down, and families clinging to survival. Ahead lies more struggle, more journeys, but also glimpses of endurance. And as you let the images fade into the darkness, you settle deeper into calm, knowing the story will carry you further, step by step, through the long years of the depression. The sound of footsteps lingers in your imagination. Men and women walking home without jobs, without wages, without answers. As you drift deeper into the story, those footsteps begin to carry you somewhere new. They lead you to the long, quiet lines that form at the edge of every city. It is morning, still dim with fog, and you find yourself standing in a line that stretches down the block. Dozens, then hundreds of people wait here, their coats pulled tight against the chill. Some hold empty bowls, others clutch tin cups. Everyone stands with the same quiet patience, moving slowly forward one step at a time. This is the breadline, a place where pride is set aside in exchange for survival. You notice the silence first. There is no chatter, no laughter, only the soft shuffle of shoes on pavement and the occasional cough. People conserve their energy, speaking little, because each moment of waiting feels heavy enough already. Children cling to their mother's skirts, their eyes wide and tired, not fully understanding why they are here. Elderly men lean on canes, grateful simply to remain standing long enough to reach the front. The smell of bread drifts faintly from the soup kitchen ahead. It is not the rich aroma of feasts or fine meals, but the simple warmth of loaves baked to fill stomachs. A pot of soup simmers inside, watered down to stretch for as many mouths as possible. You picture the volunteers ladling it out, one portion after another, their hands steady, though their hearts ache at the endless line that never seems to shorten. When you step into this world, you feel the weight of hunger as something more than physical. Hunger becomes a quiet companion to everyone here. a shadow that follows them home, lies down beside them at night, and greets them again in the morning. It makes voices softer, shoulders slump lower, and thoughts turn inward. Yet it also creates a strange kind of equality. Everyone in the breadline is bound together by the same need, regardless of who they were before. You imagine a man who once wore a fine suit, now standing beside a laborer in patched overalls. In the line, their pasts do not matter. Both hold out bowls with the same quiet hope. A woman who once hosted parties for friends now waits beside a young immigrant who arrived only months earlier. Here, no one is higher or lower. They are simply human beings in need of food. As the line inches forward, you hear small murmurs of gratitude. A loaf of bread passed into someone's hands brings a faint smile, a whispered, "Thank you." A child receives a ladle of hot soup and clutches it like treasure. For a moment, warmth spreads through their bodies, not only from the food, but from the simple act of being cared for. The bread lines become a rhythm of daily life. Morning after morning, families gather, wait, receive their portion, and carry it home. You picture cramped kitchens where a single loaf is divided carefully, each slice thin but shared with love. Mothers stretch meals, adding water to soups, cutting bread into smaller pieces, but always trying to make sure no one goes to bed hungry. Sometimes, however, the food runs out. You imagine being near the back of the line when the doors finally close. The volunteers, faces full of sorrow, explain there is nothing more to give today. The people who waited for hours turn away slowly, their steps heavy, their hopes postponed until tomorrow. That walk home feels longer than any journey, the emptiness in their stomachs matched only by the emptiness in their hearts. And yet, even in this hardship, there are glimpses of kindness. Neighbors share scraps with one another. A stranger slips half a loaf into someone else's hands. Churches open their doors to feed as many as they can. These small gestures, though modest, shine like lanterns in the dark. They remind people that they are not alone, that even in hunger, humanity endures. You wander further, and the scene shifts to the heart of New York City. Here, the bread lines stretch even longer, winding past corners and alleys. Reporters sometimes take photographs, capturing rows of tired faces. These images will travel across the country, showing the world what the Depression truly looks like. For those who stand in the lines, though, there is no need for pictures. They live the reality each day, one portion at a time. The memory of full dinner tables fades, replaced by this new normal. Children grow used to the taste of thin soup and plain bread. Parents whisper stories at night, promising that one day life will be better, that one day the tables will be full again. These promises are fragile, but they are enough to keep hope alive, like embers glowing in the ashes. As you listen to this, your breathing slows. The image of the bread line becomes a quiet procession in your mind, a slow-moving stream of humanity bound together by patience and endurance. You feel the gentle rhythm of their steps, one after another, steady and soft, carrying you deeper into rest. The Great Depression has taken jobs, and now it gnaws at stomachs. Yet, in the bread lines, in the humble sharing of bread and soup, you see both the despair and the resilience of a people who refuse to give up. They endure each day, waiting for the moment when the line will no longer be needed, when hunger will loosen its grip, and when dignity will be restored. For now, though, the story lingers here, quiet, steady, like the line itself. And as it drifts through your thoughts, you sink further into calm, carried by the slow, patient rhythm of history itself.